Welcome to this explainer, where we're tackling a universal, if, slightly uncomfortable topic, figuring out exactly what is going on in your gut. Let's be honest, at some point, almost everyone gets a stomach bug that forces them to literally map out the exact distance to the nearest bathroom at all times. But how do you actually know when you're just dealing with a standard issue nuisance and when you're facing a severe, potentially dangerous infection? Okay, so let's dive right into this central mystery. Knowing the difference between a mild stomach issue and a severe infection could literally save you from a dangerous hospital stay. We tend to just lump all stomach problems together, don't we? But medically speaking, there's a massive divide between these conditions, and understanding that divide is exactly what we are going to master today. Here is our agenda for this explainer so you can master your health literacy. Number 1, defining the stomach bugs. 2, causes and triggers. 3, spotting the symptoms. 4, the key differences. 5, diagnosis and treatment. And finally, 6, how to prevent them. Let's jump in. All right, section 1, defining the stomach bugs. We need to establish our baseline definitions here. First up is diarrhea. We absolutely all dread it, but medically speaking, the threshold is specifically defined as passing loose or watery stools 3 or more times in a single day. So this isn't just a single passing stomachache, it's a repeated pattern. And it's usually triggered by common infections, maybe some contaminated food or water, general digestive problems, or even certain medicines you might be taking right now. But then we have dysentery, and the contrast here is stark. Dysentery is not just a bad case of diarrhea, it's a severe intestinal infection. The absolute hallmarks here are the highly concerning presence of blood and mucus in the stool. It's basically the sinister, severe cousin of the common stomach bug. And man, it can lead to incredibly dangerous, life-threatening dehydration if you just leave it untreated.
Moving right along to section 2, causes and triggers. What actually starts these conditions?
Well, the triggers for a standard case of diarrhea cast a really broad net. You can catch it from a whole array of sources. Viral infections, like the highly common rotavirus, are frequent offenders. But it could also stem from bacterial infections. A bad case of food poisoning from that local restaurant, drinking contaminated water, or even simple poor hygiene. Plus, underlying intestinal disorders can act as a trigger too. It's a wide range. Dysentery, however, it has specific, highly aggressive villains behind it. We're usually looking at a specific bacterial infection called Shigella or a parasitic infection known as Entamoeba histolytica. Much like diarrhea, these dangerous invaders enter the body through contaminated food and water, and they're heavily aided by environments with poor sanitation and hygiene. But make no mistake, these are formidable, specific pathogens we're dealing with. Okay, section 3, spotting the symptoms. Let's look at what actually happens to your body. These right here are the classic, exhausting signs of a typical stomach bug. With diarrhea, you're going to experience frequent watery stools, uncomfortable abdominal cramps, and likely some nausea and vomiting. And because your body is just losing so much fluid so fast, dehydration quickly sets in, leaving you feeling profoundly weak and fatigued. It drains you, but honestly, it's a fairly predictable pattern. But look at how the severity just wildly escalates with dysentery. Yes, you still have the nausea, weakness, and dehydration, but the incredibly concerning presence of bloody diarrhea and mucus in the stool, those are major red flags you cannot ignore. Plus, the abdominal cramps shift from just being kind of uncomfortable to incredibly severe, and a fever is often present because your body is mounting a desperate defense. And the reason those symptoms are so much worse, it's because dysentery is a direct, localized attack on a major organ. It specifically targets and inflames the large intestine. It's this direct internal damage to your intestinal lining that produces the blood, the mucus, and that intense, severe pain. Which brings us to section 4, the key differences. Let's put these two head to head. So if you're trying to figure out which one you're dealing with on day 1, the sheer intensity of the stomach pain is a massive initial clue. Diarrhea usually brings mild to moderate cramping. Uncomfortable? Sure, but manageable. Dysentery, on the other hand, brings severe abdominal cramps that are highly debilitating. This is your ultimate cheat sheet right here. It's a clean separation. Diarrhea is your watery, viral nuisance, generally mild to moderate, caused by viruses or a bit of food poisoning, with mild cramps. Dysentery is your severe, bloody, parasitic, or specific bacterial threat. When you see the visual evidence of blood and mucus combined with severe pain, you immediately know you've crossed over from a standard bug into a genuinely dangerous infection. All right, Section 5, Diagnosis and Treatment. Let's talk medical counterattacks. As you might guess, the diagnostic pathways match the severity of the illnesses. For typical diarrhea, doctors usually just need to take a quick medical history and perform a basic physical exam to see what's going on. Diagnosing dysentery, though, much more rigorous. Because the specific pathogen needs to be identified, it often requires a laboratory stool exams, blood tests, and a deep evaluation of clinical symptoms to confirm exactly which bacteria or parasite is at fault. For the mild bug, the treatment strategy is completely about bouncing back safely. Your absolute top priority is replacing lost fluids using an oral rehydration solution, or ORS, along with plenty of clean water. From there, you just want to ease your stomach back into action with a very light, bland diet. Think rice, bananas, yogurt. And notice that final point. Medicines are usually only introduced if a doctor confirms a bacterial infection is driving the diarrhea. Otherwise, it's just about supporting your body while it fights off the virus naturally.
Now, because dysentery is so severe, the escalation of care is huge. You literally cannot just wait this one out. Management requires heavy hitters, specifically prescribed antibiotics or antiparasitic medicines to actually kill off the Shigella or the Entamoeba histolytica. While ORS is still used, severe cases of dehydration from dysentery often require a hospital stay for intravenous fluids. And all of this has to be paired with intense rest, proper nutrition, and strict hygiene so you don't spread this aggressive infection to anyone else.
Finally, Section 6, How to Prevent Them. Let's stop these bugs before they start.
I know it might sound basic, but these incredibly simple, everyday hygiene habits are your absolute best shield against both of these nasty conditions. Consistently washing your hands before eating and right after using the toilet? Non-negotiable. Always ensure your drinking water is clean and safe. Make absolutely sure your food is thoroughly cooked to kill off any lingering bacteria, and strongly maintain good overall sanitation in your home.
When you think about it, the line between a few days of mild discomfort and a dangerous, bloody intestinal attack is often just 20 seconds at a bathroom sink. We've seen the severe differences today, so ask yourself, is your daily routine actually protecting your gut, or are you leaving the door wide open for these microscopic invaders? Keep those hands washed, stay hydrated, and stay healthy out there. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.